What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench Podcast Network and channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. For everyone who's tuning in, we thank you for supporting Behind the Bench and subscribing to the channel and help making the show the best that it can be. And we always like your input and your responses to the topics that we discuss, and we're going to keep on providing top of the line content, discussing sports from a true historical perspective, and try to be as close as 100% authentic as possible. Now, I wanted to share this, and I'm trying not to, it's not that I'm living in the past at all, when it comes to the NBA, when it comes to my squad, the Los Angeles Lakers. It took me a long time to start, highlighting or providing content about this team. It took me a long time to just say, what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I try to avoid it, discussing other teams, other players across the NBA, other sports. And I'm not trying to be redundant here. And I'm not trying to portray myself as the greatest fan, because I'm not. But when this all started, the summer 2018, July 1st, 2018 to be exact, there was this feeling of like this ominous figure, this ominous force that was soon, this inevitability that this franchise may never be the same. And I know that's really going out there. I realize that that may sound over exaggerated or irrational, but look, me personally, and I get it. Everybody wanted, whatever sport that you follow, whatever team that you root for, in any of these major sports, NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, that everybody wants to see their team win, man. I get that. The Lakers had a down period. I get it. But every franchise goes through it. Do you realize the Boston Celtics, when they won their last championship during the Bird, McHale, and Parrish era, when they won a title in 1986, they were at their absolute peak. Bird was in his absolute prime. He had just won his third straight league MVP, and he was viewed as the best player in the league during that span. And nobody would thought that would be the last title Larry Bird would win. It wasn't that he didn't try. It wasn't that they didn't have opportunity, but that's how fierce the competition was. And it took Boston 22 years before they won their next championship in 2008, led by Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. And since 2008, it's been another 16 years since they won. But they're still the Boston Celtics. And they had a lot of down years. Before Boston traded for Garnett, KG, and Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth. Well, Paul Pierce was on a team that had like 3 consecutive losing seasons. After going to the conference finals, like in 2001, 2002, those years losing to the New Jersey Nets, led by Jason Kidd. So for 3 years, man, Paul Pierce had to rep their jersey during the down period. But they were still the Boston Celtics. Just looking at it from the outside, you never felt that the organization was not in control of the organization, or the front office was not in control of the team. You never had that feeling. So the Lakers are no exception. The New York Yankees. Do you realize when the New York Yankees won back-to-back World Series championships in 1977 and 1978, led by Mr. October Reggie Jackson, at the peak of his powers, at the peak of his fame? Do you realize from 1978, they did not, this is the New York Yankees, the most successful sports franchise in the history of North America. They won, 27 world championships. Do you realize from 1978, that point on, they didn't win another World Series until 1996. That was 18 seasons. They had some good teams throughout the 1980s. But you always had a sense that the late owner of the Yankees, George Steinbrenner, better known as the boss, he always controlled the franchise. He always ran the franchise. He didn't let an outsider come in and dictate. That's what I'm trying to say. Right? And then Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera, Paul O'Neill, they started another era of Yankee greatness, and they went on to win 4 championships over 5 years. Right? And then from 2000 to 2009, they didn't win another championship until that year, led by Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, and the like, right? Since 2009, the Yankees have not they have not won a World Series since. So we're talking about 15 years, but they are still the New York Yankees. They do not let outsiders come in and control what they do or misrepresent their franchise and distort their history. They're not going to do it. Only change with the Yankees is they replaced the original Yankee Stadium with the new Yankee Stadium. That's essentially across the street from where the original ballpark resided. That's it. Therefore, when you uphold the history, even when you're not winning, you still remember for the success overall, right? Okay. So I like to set the stage for what I'm going to talk about. And I came across this clip on YouTube a couple years ago. And I never knew this happened until I came across this clip. See, me personally, like I said, I'm not trying to be stuck in the past, because I root for these young teams, man, in the NBA that is taking over, man. It's their time. They deserve the spotlight. The previous generation of superstars, they've had their time. LeBron James has had more than enough time to prove who he is, or try to prove who he is. The KDs, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry's, who played his entire career with Golden State. He should be celebrated for that. As a cornerstone signature franchise player who played for one team his entire career. Man, that's special. But all those superstars, the James Hardens and whatnot, the new stars are here, man. And the NBA need to rally around that. But I love it, but at the same time, it's bittersweet. Because looking back on it, the Laker franchise and a lot of supporters of this organization didn't and still don't really understand what they had in the palm of their hand. They had all the richness in the world, but it featured the youngest team in the NBA, and you knew that logic and common sense is going to tell you they're not going to win a championship right out the bat. See, Magic Johnson is seen as a Mount Rushmore player, greatest point guard ever, greatest pure point guard of all time, right? But even he was drafted into a situation where you had one of the all-time greats. And when he retired, I'm talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was viewed as the greatest basketball player we've ever seen, right? There's a playoff level team, and Magic Johnson completed that team and turned them into champions. But Magic didn't have to start from, and I'm not knocking him for it. That was his journey. He didn't have to start from the very bottom and work his way to the top. But he was the unequivocal leader of that team when Showtime really got going by 1982, 1983. So I came across this clip of Kyle Kuzma. Now, and the name of this video on YouTube right now is called Kyle Kuzma Rolls Around LA in a 1970 Cadillac DeVille. But it gets even deeper. You see that right there? You see that arena that he's parked in front of looking at? That is the fabulous LA Forum where the Lakers played in from like 1969 up until 1999 before the Staples Center, which is now known as Crypto Arena, was founded. Kyle Kuzma, this was before his rookie season started. He embraced Laker culture and Laker history to such a degree that he wanted to take in the whole vibe. And what does he do? Now, I get it. You know, a lot of people may not think it's a big deal. I get it, man. I really do. This man drove in front of the LA Forum with his uniform on and his warm-ups. It resonates with me to such a degree that I realize that a Laker who starts off as a Laker will always be a Laker, no matter what. No matter if he's shunned, traded away, chided, mocked, ridiculed, made fun of. Because before they took this path, July 1st, 2018, I didn't hear one fan of this team who said their young core wasn't any good. And when I say not one, I mean not one. Because leading into that season, the Lakers drafted 4 players in the same off season. Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, and Thomas Bryant. When they drafted Kyle Kuzma, the analyst covering the draft said he was the steal of that draft. I never heard of Kyle Kuzma prior to him being drafted. But when I saw his workout video, when I saw his highlights in Utah, I said, man, this dude is a baller. And what really made it special was that he played all 4 years in college, which has been looked down upon for years and years. But before the one and done rule, before the influx of high school players in the mid-90s, during the 80s, which is considered the golden era, or from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the golden era is considered the 80s. No matter what these so-called revisionists try to say about those years. I grew up watching the NBA during the 80s. And I don't like to compare eras. I love what these young teams are doing now. But that was the golden era. Teams didn't even think about drafting high school players. You had at least, on average, do 3 years of college before you went pro. Most of your centers had to play 4 years. Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, Ralph Sampson. David Robinson had to complete his 2-year commitment with the Naval Academy before he was eligible to declare entry into the NBA. So when he started his career, Robinson was damn near, he was like 22, 23 years old. Tim Duncan, all 4 years. Now you had your exceptions, like Magic Johnson did 2 years. Isaiah Thomas did 2 years. I believe like Chris Webber did 2 years. But for the on average, you was expected, you had to complete 3 years of college. But Grant Hill did 4 years too. And I'm going to play this video for you to where you can hear the words. This man parked and drove in front of the Fabulous Forum that has since been closed down, but he was a Laker in his heart to such a degree. He said, man, I want to go and take in the energy from the heyday of the Showtime era Lakers. That's how much he wanted to be purple and gold. And like I say, a Laker who starts off as a Laker is always a Laker. See, I'm going to play this clip. I'm finna play it right now.
I always try to speak things into existence. You know, you dig back to kindergarten, the teacher would go around the room and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would always say NBA player. Then, you know, that teacher would be like, okay, well, pick a real job. And, you know, for me, that was a real job. Growing up in Flint, you know, it's very hard to make it out. You know, there's a lot of violence and a lot of temptation to make it out of that place. You can make it anywhere. And when I first got drafted and moved to LA, a decent amount of people kind of knew me, but I could still walk around. But once the season started and I started playing well, everything changed. Los Angeles, it's a vibe for sure. All the fans genuinely like you. Hey, I'll be checking on you. You know, being a Laker is like royalty out here, and the experience you get here is nothing like any other market. We're one of the youngest teams in the NBA, but the city's expecting this core to take us back to where Lakers should be. And, you know, as a rookie, one thing I'm learning, it's very tough to win in this league. I always envisioned going to the NBA. I just didn't know what type of path it was going to take me to get there. And being in LA, one thing I like, there's so many people here that have a special sense of pride in the path that they created. Whoever else at the top of the league, they may be more talented, more skilled, but I have an alpha personality. I want to dominate, play free and confident, and have that certain type of swagger. That's just my mindset. You know, a lot of people think it's kind of just like a fluke thing. It's always been like that. They were like, oh, summer league. You know, they killed with the summer league. And then preseason came along and I did the same thing and they were like, oh, well, let's see if you keep doing it. Now in the regular season, you know, it's still the same thing. People are going to say what they want to say, but it's all white noise to me. I know what I can do, I know my capabilities, and I know I'm going to be doing this for a long time. I never crack, always
There you go right there, man. This man drove around L.A. and then rolled up in front of the Fabulous Forum, man, with his uniform and his warm-ups. And even greater is that he went to go shoot some jumpers at an outdoor court with Kobe Bryant. The late Kobe Bean Bryant played at shortly after he was drafted, brought to the Lakers as a rookie. I'm telling you, man, when I first saw this clip, man, look, it's like this, man. As I say, a Laker who starts off as a Laker is always a Laker, man. See, when this started, and we try to rationalize the process, or when you heard voices try to rationalize the process, saying, "Well, they weren't ready for the bright lights." Well, when you watch this video right here, he embraced it. He said, "This is L.A. They have set a standard for themselves, and we want to return this organization back to where they rightfully supposed to be." That don't sound like nobody that was shunning the spotlight to me. That don't sound like nobody who was nervous or was scared of the bright lights. No, man. No, look. He also said in that video, he said, "I know I'm not the most talented player as far as just naturally gifted, but he said, I got an alpha mentality." He said that. I got an alpha mentality. And he showed that mentality showed throughout the course of his rookie season. This is what else they're not going to tell you. See, this is deep, man. Essentially what Kyle Kuzma is, when he say, "I'm not the most talented player in the world," he understands that he's best suited to be a six-man level player. Now, remember his rookie year, starting out, because of experience playing 4 years, he started mainly at the 4. And then once Julius Randle, because remember Julius Randle, they saw him as like a tweener, but once they really identified him as the true starting power forward for the team, he finally broke through as a player. During that season, he started averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds. And really, he hasn't missed a beat since. But Kyle Kuzma is part of Laker history. You know why? Because he was top 5 in Rookie of the Year vote getting. Top 5 of all the rookies who entered the league that same season, he was top 5. Think about this. He was drafted like with the 27-28 pick. And then he was acquired by the Lakers because they and guess what? Here goes some more caveat for you. Guess who identified him as a player? Long-standing figure of the Lakers going way back to the 60s and the 70s. Bill Burka. Bill Burka. He's part of the scouting department. Well, he was during this period where we were drafting all this young talent. Bill Burka was like in his 80s, and he identified Kyle Kuzma. That's how deep this round of drafting was. So many figures, Laker figures of this franchise, was involved in that drafting process. Because I remember watching that Summer League tournament of 2017, the most watched and exciting Summer League tournament in the history of the event, that the Lakers would eventually win the championship as the best team of that tournament. I was watching them play, man. They was playing professional. They weren't playing Summer League level basketball. They was playing pro level basketball. And I kept asking myself, like, who is drafting this talent? Because I didn't know. I said, man, this is something different. This is something different right here. Okay. So Kyle Kuzma not only was he a top 5 rookie of the year vote getter, but he's also part of Laker history in that he's top 5 in total points scored in a season by a rookie. He averaged like 16.5 points a game. So you're probably talking about, I'm pretty sure, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, maybe Gail Goodrich, Magic Johnson, and Kyle Kuzma. That's who I would guess is the other 4 in front of him as far as total points scored. This man can play. And this image right here, man. See, these players that they rolling up in here on a yearly basis, they don't have that connection. It's not there. This is a short-term venture. As long as that dude, the other guy, is playing. As long as they keep him on the team, it's gonna be the situation year in and year out. You bring in one crew of players, don't work out, you bring in another crew. It's a revolving door. They don't have this type of connection. And it leads to this reality when it comes to the young core versus the players that they bringing up in here on the year. Even established big names can't last. No matter what. You can have okay, you got LeBron James on this team and AD, 2 superstars, right? But I guarantee, here go a perfect example. This season, when they played the Boston Celtics on the road, and neither LeBron and AD didn't play. Most people thought they was going to lose that game. Well, unknowing to people tuning in watching that game, the 2 players who led the Lakers to their victory over the Boston Celtics were 2 original Lakers. They performed in a way that even the 2 superstars on the team couldn't perform. Austin Reeves, I believe he had like 30-some points. He had during their 40 points. And D'Angelo Russell. And do you know why they played the way they did? Because they are original Lakers. And by instinct, when it comes to the rivalry, the greatest rivalry in NBA history, I'm talking about in terms of the history of the league, the Lakers versus the Celtics, that automatically raised their play to a whole nother level to where they were able to win that game against the team that earned the season's best regular season record. A Boston team this year who have the top 5 in point differential for a season. And if they win the championship, this could easily be considered one of their top 5 or 6 greatest teams in the history of their franchise. But Austin Reeves, who was undrafted by the Lakers, but brought on as a rookie, discovered by the scouting department, and then D'Angelo Russell, they played at a level in an understanding that LeBron James and even Anthony Davis don't understand. See, this is deep. So what I'm trying to say is no matter who they roll up in here on a yearly basis, they can try to fill their space, but they cannot take their place. They cannot take the place of their young core, man. I'm sorry. And I know, fans may not hear this nowhere else. This is why we have this channel. And all this comes out naturally. This is not contrived. This is not trying to prove a point. But I had an opportunity to watch every game this season. Every single game that they play. I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about the regular season. I was able to watch every game. And by season's end, I was left with the impression, I said by the turn of the decade into the 2020s, we continue to build this thing up and we add the right star player, we will roll for the next 10 to 12 years with the young core serving as the foundation to make that possible. That's why they're so important. It's not about GOATs or who the GOAT. It's about we had a rare opportunity to conduct a revolutionary process to winning by producing a championship squad and a long-standing run with predominantly homegrown talent. This is what the late great owner Jerry Buss envisioned, because he understood, because of the one and done rule, you bring in so many players. Most of those players are not ready to come in right away and make an immediate contribution like rookies of decades past who came in with 3 years of college experience on average. So he understood the importance of player development. This is why he spearheaded a movement where he established a situation where the Lakers became the first NBA franchise to own his own developmental squad. See, he was always forward thinking. And this was just another version of generating a long-term run. So when I look at this picture, man, and this will be permanently embedded in my conscience when it comes to this franchise, man. They wanted to be Lakers. All this talk about too much pressure. No. He was hitting too many clutch shots during his rookie year. And as I say, they had a 10th to 12th ranked defense the majority of the season. And they finished the year with a point differential of -1, which is unheard of by a predominantly young, driven team. Whereas this year's Laker team, they finished with a point differential of like a +1. See, all this so-called experience that they got in a point differential is like only maybe 2 points ahead of the young core-driven team. That just show you that young core team was ahead of the curve. They was ahead of the curve in the brutal Western Conference. And they finished the season with a -1. It wasn't like they finished with the season like -6, -7, meaning that majority of the time you're losing games by like double digits. No, they was right there until like the last 3-4 minutes of the game. It was just inexperience and youth. So I just want to share this video, man. Look at that, man. He looking at the form like, I want to be a part of Laker history. And that's why he said, going into the 1920 season, once when they start purging away the young core, and the only reason he remained is because he was on his rookie deal, and they wanted to leverage him to include him into a future trade. But he said, man, I'm surprised that guy that's on the team now was trying to set up like that. He said, I'm surprised we let go all this young talent because I thought we had a dynasty. Man, tell me, man. Kuzma. He part of Laker history, man, at the end of the day. So, like I said, he traded to Washington. Like he said, I'm not the most talented guy, but I got an alpha mentality. So, them first 2 years of Washington, before they traded away Bill, before they traded away Caldwell Pope, Dinwiddie was on that team for a minute, Porzingis, Gafford, the head coach, man, Wes Unseld, I think that's Wes Unseld Jr. or whatnot. They drew up the plays for Kuz to hit the game-winning shot, not Bill. Bill was deferring to Kuzma. That's unheard of, man, but fans would let it believe he wasn't no good. Woo! I'm telling you, man, I could envision in my head, this team would be so lethal, man. First of all, you're going to have the deepest team in the league, and you constantly drafting talent that's going to complement what you already got. And in the supply of talent, when you want to make a minor trade, to improve in a particular position, mainly the second unit, Man, I'm telling you, man. That team would have been so deep, you don't have to play the starters 38 minutes a game. You can just maybe 34, 35. So they be fresh come playoff time. I'm telling you, man. But I just want to share this real quick, man. I try not to get wordy, man, but I get very passionate about it because I know what we had. And he's sitting right there in front of that forum, man, by himself, dog, taking it all in because he wanted to be a Laker, and that was his destiny to be a Laker. And now he's gone. But as I say, no matter what, a Laker who starts off as a Laker is always a Laker. So I want to drop that nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.